Welcome back to another video, guys. I hope all of you out there who have had early access to Starfield and have been able to jump in are enjoying playing the game. We got the official reviews for Starfield yesterday. Lots of great reviews, lots of 10s, lots of 9s, 8s, and a few 7s in there from a major website like IGN. But overall, the game has reviewed extremely well. This is Bethesda back to form, releasing sounding like, as I predicted, a generational RPG that people are going to be spending hours, days, weeks, months, years playing, just like they have with some of their previous games like Skyrim. So that is extremely exciting to see. I guess today is the official 5-day early access release day for everybody out there who got the premium editions, who got the Constellation edition or the Game Pass add-on bundle. I'm getting the Constellation edition. I'm sure by the time you see this video, I will have received it, or it should be coming on its way shortly. So very excited about that, and I will be doing an unboxing for it. But reviewing very well, sitting at an 88 currently on Metacritic for PC and an 87 on the Xbox Series X. So essentially the exact same score. We see some of the reviews here, hundreds, 95s, 90. But one of the reviews that stands out the most, as I mentioned, is the Starfield review from IGN. They gave Starfield a 7 out of 10. And this has a lot of people talking. A lot of people like to rag on IGN for anti Xbox takes, thinking that they kind of don't give Xbox a fair shake, especially when it does come to PlayStation. For example, here is something that they say. It helps that Bethesda has certainly upped its facial animation game for Starfield. Granted, it's nowhere near as precise and lifelike as motion capture performances we've seen in The Last of Us and God of War, but it's on par with other big RPGs where you interact with hundreds of NPCs for dozens of hours, like Baldur's Gate 3. And that statement right there makes no sense, comparing Starfield to the linear games. Not even a tenth of the scope, I would say. Maybe, I don't know the exact amount, but a very small amount of the scope compared to Starfield when it comes to God of War or The Last of Us, which is a massive RPG with tons of exploration, where you're going to be able to spend way more time in that game doing tons of different stuff with insanely a crazy amount of mechanics compared to a God of War or to a Last of Us. And they're comparing facial animations, where obviously with those smaller linear games that PlayStation puts out, you can put way more resources into that and make the game run at a smoother frame rate, at a better performance. Starfield, you really have to selectively kind of go out there and put resources here and there and all of these different mechanics that they have, because the scope is just so big. So that is one of their interesting takes. Here is another one. It says its approach to exploration is so similar to No Man's Sky and so inferior to it that it made me want to go back to 2016 and play the original version of that painfully underrated game once more. Comparing it now to No Man's Sky, when again, No Man's Sky is a small piece of what Starfield is. It is a large space game, has lots of exploration. You go out, you collect resources. I've played through some No Man's Sky. I've played it in VR. I've played it in the regular mode. It's a fun game, but it doesn't have those deep RPG mechanics, the great storytelling that Starfield is going to have or has. And you obviously see that when you do play through it. So that alone is crazy. And this also, this tweet here says, IGN 7 out of 10, too much Xbox, I mean space, or rather too much not No Man's Sky. By the way, the same reviewer reviewed No Man's Sky in 2016 and gave it a 6 out of 10. And other IGN websites also reviewed Starfield, and a lot of them gave it a 10 out of 10. Like IGN Japan gave Starfield a 10 out of 10. So this 7 out of 10 from IGN has a lot of people talking, whether it's very non-biased, whether it's an objective review from this person, it's just really their opinion and it really deserves that 7 out of 10, or is there something more going on here? We will never really know. But what I do find very, very curious is, you guys remember, well, I don't know if I talked about this in my video, but in my video yesterday, Estella from IGN, believes she's also on the podcast Unlocked, put out a tweet, and we will pull it up here. She's now actually made the tweet private, or made her account private, so it was hard for me to find, but she puts out this tweet here basically saying that she hasn't played the game yet, but she has a lot of negative takes on it. She says, I think Starfield looks very okay and it's trying to do too many things, so it won't be able to deliver all it promises. The world doesn't look unique. The story seems to be an afterthought to the game. And one thing I love from Bethesda games are the plot lines and hidden lore throughout the world. I don't see a lot of that in Starfield, and instead I see a lot of other extracurricular activities that seem to distract from the main story. The gunplay looks bland, and I still really dislike the enemy name UI and health bars being right above their heads versus being on top of the screen like in Fallout. I think it'll be a fine game, but I don't think it's going to be mind blowing. And the players saying, "Oh, but modders will save it," makes me a bit annoyed. A game should be really solid on its own without the help of modding. Modding is a really fun addition that should elevate the content of a game rather than fix or bring it up to player expectations. And again, this is curious because she hadn't played the game, but I have a feeling she saw the Starfield review before it went live 2 days later and knew that it was going to be an average mid review. 7 out of 10 still means it's a good game, but it isn't anything mind-blowing, and then puts this out here as her opinion. I feel like this was kind of a foreshadowing take here from Stella, and she talks specifically about the actual story itself. But if we go here to Gene Park, he put out his thoughts on the story, and he has a completely different take on the story itself. He says that, "Fine, I'll just say it. I recommend that you do not ignore the main quest for too long. There's a reason why Todd Howard yelled at Pete Hines for not doing the main quest. You should do the main quest." He also says this: "Here's how I played Starfield. I rushed the main quest in 20 hours, then explored everything else after. The post game is something I haven't seen in any game. It's the most interesting ending since Nier Automata." Yes, I just made that comparison, which is very interesting to see. And then he says, "Paul says it's simpler than I do. If you wanted a Bethesda game, Bethesda made a Bethesda game for Bethesda game likers. That's kind of all you need to know." So, I mean, that is probably the best way to put this. If you like previous Bethesda games, you don't have to have played them all, but if you enjoyed Skyrim, if you enjoyed Oblivion, if you enjoyed the Elder Scrolls, you enjoyed Fallout, even just one of those series, you're probably going to like Starfield. And that's the biggest takeaway here. And that's why people are so excited. Anybody who's played previous Bethesda games and have enjoyed at least one of them are most likely going to like Starfield. So, the majority of the reviews are extremely positive. This is going to be a game everybody's talking about. This is going to be a game of the year candidate, potentially, from everything that we are seeing. It is a massive game, and there are so many ways to play it. You rush the main quest, you don't rush the main quest, you just explore for hours, all of that type of stuff. We have seen it, and that is why everybody is so excited about this. You have the deep RPG mechanics, the storytelling of Bethesda, plus the expansive exploration world that they have created. So I can't wait. And this is seemingly going to be living up to everything that everybody was expecting, unless you're IGN, of course, who still gave it a 7 out of 10 for some interesting reasons that probably don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Now, the other great thing here that is awesome to see, the reports that this is the least buggy Bethesda game are coming true. This is a very rock solid game by Bethesda in terms of performance on both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. We have this article here from Games Radar saying Starfield runs at a rock solid 30 FPS on both the X and the S with one exception. And this is from Digital Foundry's analysis of this game. They say both the Xbox Series X and S perform basically identically, though there are naturally some graphical downgrades on the latter to make that happen, which of course it's a $200 device, which is the Series S, so you should be expecting that. It says Series S runs at an upscale 900p while the X runs at an upscale 1440p. Beyond that, the graphical differences are pretty minor. Environmental details like foliage and rocks have a similar draw distance on the Series S, and the weaker console does downgrade in-game reflections. We actually have a tweet here that I thought was pretty good, and it's from Tom Warren kind of showing off just how good this game actually does look on the Xbox Series S. And I love this. I love to see this because it's another, I would say, positive check mark on the side of the Series S, which this generation, there have been far more positive check marks on a $200 console, being able to output games like this and give people these experiences. Because whenever there's anything negative that comes out, everybody runs with it. But stuff like this really shows the value of the Xbox Series S. The graphic fidelity, the frame rate's solid, and it's on such a cheap device for what you're getting out of it and for the value of it. This is Towerborne saying Starfield runs well on the Xbox Series S. Bethesda has done some smart optimization work to not compromise the visual quality and performance on the Xbox Series S. Here's Neon, a city in Starfield running on the Xbox Series S. And check out the video. It looks great. And I'm sure anybody out there playing on the Xbox Series S will have a great experience and be able to attest to what people are saying here about the performance on, again, a $300 console. So super, super good to see. It's not buggy. It runs great, and everybody so far is really enjoying the game. So Starfield is off to a successful launch, and I'm sure in the next week or so, everybody will be talking about some of the unique experiences that they have while playing this game. Now, besides Starfield, there was some pretty big news here from the Embracer Group. And if you're a Saints Row fan, this may be some sad news for you. I personally like the Saints Row series a lot. I understand the gripes with the recent reboot. It wasn't my favorite Saints Row, but I will say I put in like over 50 plus hours into that game. And people look at me crazy when I say that because of all the complaints and the negative reviews that came out. I'm also somebody who loves Crackdown 3. So I don't really take all of these reviews and base my gaming off of them. If there's a game I want to check out and play, I will check it out and judge it for myself. And I did that same thing with Saints Row. The story wasn't great. The reboot characters I didn't like very much, but what it was just mindless fun, which is what I love to do in a lot of video games, especially after like a long day of work or something. So I put a lot of hours in Saints Row, and I was hoping that it would do better than it did, but it did not do very well. We saw some of the sales stuff and just the backlash from the release, and it's all culminating here to a very sad day, I personally believe, and that is that the Volition is shutting down by the Embracer Group. This is an update via LinkedIn. Volition says here, this past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. As part of that program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. It continues here and says, to help our team, we are working to provide job assistance and help smooth the transition for our Volition family members. We thank our customers and fans around the world for all the love and support over the years. You will always be in our hearts. So very, very sad. They did announce that restructuring thing after a huge deal did fall through. It was a $2 billion deal that essentially on the last day fell through. And we now know that was with a Saudi government funded company. So the Embracer Group, the more we hear about them, people were ragging on Microsoft and Xbox with the consolidation and the monopolization. The Embracer Group is continuously buying up stuff, and it is seemingly making it for the worse. You can tell the Embracer Group, at least the way it looks like with all these companies shutting down, they're basically only in it for the bottom line, and they're going to shut down anything that doesn't provide them enough money. They're not going to take very many risks. That's what it generally sounds like, and we are seeing the proof in the pudding with all the closures and restructurings that are happening. The Embracer Group isn't seeming that great for gaming right now, but we will see. Maybe that will turn around. Maybe things will get better, and maybe they'll start pumping out amazing games and opening up more studios and giving us new adventures. But right now, the Embracer Group is pretty disappointing with all of the closures that are happening around them with this restructuring, and I'm sure there will be more in the future. And Saints Row, now I guess the IP, it's up in the air. What is going to happen with Saints Row going forward? All right, let's jump over here. Towerborne has some new gameplay. If you do want to check out and see what this game is all about, this is coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. It's part of their Xbox third-party partnerships that they created, where I believe this is exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, and it looks like a ton of fun. I love these styles of games, these side-scrolling action RPGs with this animation style. You can see the gameplay here, the hack and slash with the 4 players. It looks like it'll be great, especially in Xbox Game Pass, where tons of people will have access to the game. But this is a brand new direct 4K YouTube video of exactly what this game is and some gameplay if you are interested in seeing more about that. All right, let's jump over here, talk about another big RPG, a game or expansion that was announced during the Xbox showcase, and that is Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. And we now know that after this expansion does release, a lot of the team is going to be switching over to The Witcher 4. The Witcher 4, a lot of people will be excited for. I love The Witcher 3. They are making The Witcher 4 an Unreal Engine 5, which is extremely exciting just because of how good that game potentially can look. CD Projekt Red is a good developer, even with the crazy, terrible release of Cyberpunk 2077. they've definitely bounced back though. They've made their money back, and it seems like people don't even really talk about it that much anymore. So there is a way back when you have such a brutal release that they did have with a very highly anticipated game. But we have this here. It says that CD Projekt Red confirmed that Phantom Liberty expansion will feature new achievements, but there's also good news for The Witcher fans too. After Phantom Liberty is released, CDPR will move a big part of the Phantom Liberty team over to working on the upcoming Witcher project, codename Polaris. And Adam Kinski, or however you say his name, confirms that Polaris team grew by around 250 in the company, which is the latest H1 2023 presentation. They will move more and more people to Polaris, later adding that after Phantom Liberty releases, a part of the team will move to working on Polaris. And they also clarify here that after releasing Phantom Liberty, they will transfer a big part of that team to Polaris. So this says the same thing essentially 3 times. But if you're looking forward to the ramping up of development for The Witcher 4, it is going to be happening very, very soon after the release of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion, which is going to be coming on September 26th, which is just crazy to think that another big, huge RPG releasing in September. It's an insane time of year for video games. September and October, non-stop releases. I don't know how people are going to fit all these games in, especially with a game that is so big like Starfield with the scope that it has. I don't know. I think I will be able to. It'll probably be Starfield, and then Mortal Kombat 1 a little bit thrown in there, because fighting games, you can get some quick sessions in. But man, gaming is good right now. I can't remember a time in recent memory where it has been this jam-packed with so many huge games, all starting right now with the release of Starfield. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.